find 3 contractors. And it's important to find these contractors because these are the people that are going to be renovating your property. They're in charge of renovating the property. And let me make a quick distinction. We want to find a general contractor, which we call a GC, because a general contractor will then hire out the subcontractors that do the work on the property, right? The GC, I like to look at them as my project manager. They're managing the fix and flip. It's very important that you want to be a real estate investor. If you want to go paint houses or pick weeds and do landscaping, then go do that and get paid $15 an hour. If you want to make a higher potential income, if you want to learn how to make a higher profit potential, then learn how to be the real estate investor that's able to fix and flip multiple houses at a time. And how you're able to do that is by hiring a very good general contractor. Now, this step, similar to the last step of finding your lenders, I don't want you to go find a house yet without finding your contractors. Because let's say, hey, I know how to get the money, I found a deal, and you buy that deal and you don't have a general contractor yet. Well, each day that you hold onto the deal after you buy it, you are then paying money and interest. So we want to get all of our ducks in a row before we actually find the house, buy it, before we actually start the renovation, because you can't start the renovation without finding a GC. So let me share a few of my favorite ways on how to find general contractors. Number 1, referrals. Referrals are important because I want to make sure that I have a general contractor that can do work on time and do work on budget. And I want a general contractor who's familiar working with real estate investors. I don't want a general contractor who only works with Jack and Sally, the person who wants to renovate their home once every 20 years. Because what will happen, that type of general contractor will charge retail pricing. I want real estate investor pricing. So I want a general contractor who's familiar working with fix and flippers. My favorite way is to get referrals from other fix and flippers. Now, if you don't know any fix and flippers, how do you find them? You go to RIAs. Not only can you find fix and flippers at RIAs that you could potentially get referrals from for general contractors, there's actual general contractors that will show up to RIAs that want more business too. So it's twofold. You can find fix and flippers, you can get referrals from RIAs, you can actually find the general contractors at the RIAs as well. Now, another way to find general contractors, not as efficient, but literally just driving around and looking for properties being renovated. Now, this may be different depending on your area, but sometimes I drive around San Diego and I see that a property is under construction. I see a banner outside that says the general construction company. I see that there's a lot of subcontractors at the property doing work. And what I do in that scenario, if I see a house being renovated, then I'll just go walk in, talk to the subcontractors. I'll see if the GC is there and introduce myself because I know that they're doing work in an area that I want to renovate houses in. Or if there's that banner outside or a truck outside the house being renovated, it may have the phone number on it. So what do? I take that phone number down or I take a photo and then I call the company and see if this GC is willing to work with me. Now at this point, I'm trying to find 3 general contractors that are used to working with fix and flippers. We're only going to use 1 general contractor for a deal. The reason why I want you to find 3 is because if one gets busy or has too many projects, then you still have 2 other ones. Also, the other reason why I want you to find 3 is so that you can get contractor quotes from all 3 of them and see whose quote is the best, meaning the pricing for the renovation costs. I do not want you to overpay for the renovation costs on a deal. Just getting 1 contractor quote can lose you $10,000 because someone is overcharging you than another general contractor that's willing to do it at a better price. So this alone can potentially save you 5 figures on a fix and flip deal, which is very important. Lastly, one other way you can find general contractors is going to Home Depot or Lowe's. Places where contractors go to, subcontractors, GCs, to pick up materials, to pick up vanities, to pick up the items they need to renovate the house. So a lot of the times you go to Home Depot in the morning, you'll find tons of trucks out there with phone numbers on the side that you can take photos of and call those companies in order to find these GCs and see if they'd be willing to work with you. And I want you to protect yourself with these 6 essential documents that we have here. So you're going to want an independent contractor agreement with your contractor stating your business relationship. Very important that you have this. We also want the final scope of work, exactly what we agreed upon, the work that the property needs on what's going to be done. This is the game plan. This is the blueprint of what's going to be done on this renovation, so that everything on the property that's being renovated, they're not adding bells and whistles that we didn't talk about. They're not juicing up the renovation budget $20,000 because we're just letting them go off whatever they want to do, right? We actually have it defined here. So they need to stick to the final scope of work. Then we have a payment schedule. The payment schedule defines when they're getting paid and for what. So what my business partner Ryan always likes to say is we want to be ahead on work and behind on pay. We always want them to do the work. We check the work. We go there to the property, make sure everything's being done correctly, make sure that everything was done up to snuff and that everything in the scope of work was matched. Then we pay them for the next amount of work that they're going to be doing. So we have the payment schedule, and this dictates exactly what they're going to be working on and when they're going to be paid. So we want to pay them in tranches. So for example, the first payment to them might be $1,000. Then they do some work. Then we pay them for the next amount of work, which is $9K. Then we pay them for the next amount of work, $10K. Then the next, and then the final payment of $10K, which adds up to $40,000. We also need an insurance indemnification agreement saying that this contractor has the insurance that they need and we're not liable for anything that goes wrong on the property. They have their own insurance, it'll be taken care of. The W-9 is a legal document that we need to have. If we're paying an independent contractor more than $600 in a year, we need a W-9 filled out, so make sure to get that. Now, at the end of the project, once we're done renovating it, we're gonna have them sign a final lien waiver saying that they can't come after us for additional money. We want to protect ourselves. Everything that was done in the agreement was completed and they received all the money they need, and they can't put a lien on the property saying that we owe them money, the contractor that is. So this is the breakdown of the critical documents that we need. We know we're going to pay them $40,000 over time. You don't want to pay them $40,000 up front, right? That's not a great contractor, takes all your money. We've heard horror stories of contractors just taking all the money and running. So you want to make sure that you verify the work they're doing, following the scope of work to the T that we've already worked on, and now we're able to manage this renovation. Now, I recommend if it's your first flip, go to the property every couple days and check in on the property. One thing I like to do is go to the property and take care of the subcontractors. So the people laying the tile, the people doing the drywall, and bring them waters, bring them drinks, bring them snacks, bring them Coca-Colas. I believe if you take care of them, they'll take care of your property. So that's one little thing that you can do. Now, when we're renovating the property, keep in mind, this budget for this property is $40,000. The rule of thumb that I taught you is that for every $10,000 will be a week of renovation. So in total, this should take about 4 weeks if something doesn't come up that we didn't anticipate. And so keep in mind, things can't come up that you don't anticipate. A lot of times we can miss things, or there could be things called change orders that we just have to adapt on the fly. And this budget can increase because of our lack of seeing the things that need to be fixed from the get-go. So this will happen more in the beginning when you're starting to renovate property. Over time, you'll be able to catch these items. Now, to give you an idea of the order of the rehab, right here, we'll list everything from the framing to the roof, to the soffit, to the fascia, to the HVAC, to the electrical, to sheetrock, everything we recommend on the order of the renovation so that you can keep it on time and on budget. Remember, the GC is the one in charge of the deal. If we've done a great amount of work and we have the scope of work and it's detailed and we have clarity and we have all the documentation that we need, we should be able to stay on budget and on time. So these are the most important documents. And if you need help with the scope of work, if you need help understanding how the heck should I renovate this property, I always want you to look at the comparable property, right? Because we're trying to match those comparable properties. So the ones that we found in this scenario that sold for $545 and $540, $550, look at those photos and find the actual items that are in that property. What type of flooring did they use? What type of countertops did they use? What type of cabinetry do they have? What are the colors of the walls on the interior and the exterior? What type of lighting fixtures did they have, right? If we mimic the comps, we're going to minimize our risk, and we're going to then develop a property that should be able to sell at the price that we want to sell. So that's an additional pro tip. Renovate the property to what the comps are like.
And that's how we flip houses with no money. Be on the lookout for the next video in this series. And if you want to build a hyper profitable wholesaling and flipping business, then check out my full in-depth training at realestateskills.com/watch. And I'll put the link in the description. I'll see you there, and happy flipping.